Good morning, everybody. It's Positive Tuesday today, April 6th, 2021. Very excited to have Polk County Sheriff Brent Waak joining us today. Always nice to see Brent. Man, we need a nickname for you. Walkie-talkie. There we go. No, we'll come up with something better. For Barrett County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by ICAA. ICAA is your local social service organization that works together with individuals, families, and the community to create and support local solutions for local needs. Their goal is to help remove barriers so people can access resources, education, and services to increase financial security. For a full list of services, find them on Facebook or check them out on their website at indianheadcaa.org. Fitzy, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Brent, how's it going? Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Going great.
So we typically, I'm sorry, I'm getting a whole bunch of, I forgot to turn off all my notifications here. That's going to get annoying. So we always, kind of do a little chit chat here at the beginning. I know I want to get into a couple of topics. You had this a great press release yesterday regarding one of your deputies winning a prestigious award. I kind of want to touch on, I know it's I wouldn't say controversial, but it's an interesting topic of gun control because it's being brought up again. And then certainly talking about meth and the things that are happening in your counties. But first, just kind of a what's been new with everyone. Fitzy's been a week. What's been new with you?
Nothing. Enjoyed the beautiful weather all weekend. Wasn't it awesome? I mean, it was just crazy weather, and it wasn't too busy out. It was great, and people enjoyed Easter with their families, and we went out to eat, and it was great. And yeah, it was just a beautiful day to be outside and get some work done and have a little fun and enjoy a little family, a little food, and watch some basketball, watch the girls' finals and the boys' finals. I mean, that was some good basketball over the last couple Sunday and Monday night. And, Baylor blew out. I didn't think that was going to be a blowout like that. But other than that, it was just a beautiful couple days here. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and first of all, it's men's and women's, Fitzy, boys and girls. Somebody corrected me on that. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just what I call it. Yeah, no, I really thought when I saw Michigan lost on Tuesday night, and I think we had Judge Gill as candidate. Actually, it's election day today. I didn't think about that. Day. Right. So we should talk about that too. But we had Judge Gill who's running for the 3rd Appellate Court in Wisconsin. And I had said at the beginning of the show that, Fitzy, he's probably not in a good mood today because his Michigan team lost. So, Brent, did you watch? It's been, I looked it up, and I think it was October of 2019 was the last time that you were on. That was back when we were still doing them in studio. So I would ask, what's been new with you in the last year and 3 months? But we only have like 30 to 40 minutes, dude. So
Nothing is new at all. Nothing. There's nothing new, right?
Nothing. So did you watch any of the basketball games? Are you into that stuff?
Oh, I love March Madness, and I watched so many games, and those kids, and I'll still call them kids, but they are playing for everything, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. So did you think Gonzaga was going to lose? Because after that semifinal game, I thought Gonzaga's not going to win this. They're like emotionally spent. It was like they felt like they won the whole thing right there.
Well, and I'd like to point out that our fantastic Badgers were beaten by Baylor, so it just lends credibility to just how good the Badgers were, because it took the best team in the nation to take them down.
Huh?
We'll go with that.
Yeah, okay. There we go. Yeah,
it's our show. We can do what we want.
Well, I don't have any. Usually we go through some, recent either press releases from Fitzy or any stories that we've done, but we don't have any. However, Brent, you have a great story that you had put out yesterday, and we published it on our website. Tell us about that.
Well, it is a great story for Positive Tuesday. Deputy Andrew Vitalis was instrumental in coming up with the concept to help solve that cold case that involved the hit and run death on the Round Lake community of Ben Juarez and Richard Cobanez. And I submitted his information to the National Sheriff's Association, and he was selected for Deputy Sheriff of the Year for merit, which is just an amazing, for a small agency to get national recognition. I'm so proud of the staff here. I'm just proud of all the work the men and women of the Sheriff's Office do here.
So that was actually a question I was going to ask: is do you submit that? I mean, how do they really know? And Fitzy, did you submit someone?
No, I did not submit anyone.
So you don't have any good deputies, or what?
No, none. We work as a team. We're not individuals here. No, no.
Okay.
But Brent, I mean, you guys did a phenomenal job. I know that was one of your goals when you became sheriff, was that case, and I know, that was part of your team's effort. I mean, that video you put out was fabulous. I mean, it was just well done. You got the media publicity that you needed for that, and that's what it takes, is the media working together with law enforcement, and you guys did a great job, and congratulations to you and your team and the deputy. I mean, it's a pretty good honor. That's a big honor too. National sheriffs. And think about that. There's national sheriffs of the year. I mean, that's huge. That's big.
Yep.
It's a great opportunity, and oftentimes we're quick to criticize when we make mistakes, and we're not quick to point out the good work we do. So it's awesome to bring this kind of positivity to the law enforcement world right now, and I think it's a well-deserved. And it is a team effort, and Andrew will be the first one to point that out, that he couldn't have done that without the help of everybody, and that's the St. Croix Tribal Police. That's everybody involved in this case. I was actually the sergeant on that case that night. So those kind of cases impact everybody's life. So for this community, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, Brent, you make that impacts our life. I mean, it's not like we're just out there doing our job. I mean, this impacts you for years. This case impacted you personally, professionally, your department. And I mean, I think sometimes we forget about that. We just go on these calls and we just forget about them the next day. That's not what happens. These traffic fatalities and everything, it impacts our lives. I mean, and Brent, just like I know, I mean, we have the greatest support for law enforcement. We're not like the LAs or the New Yorks or even the Minneapolises of the world. Even though we're really close to Minneapolis, the law enforcement support that our departments have is tremendous, is second to none, really, in our communities. But I mean, I just think you make a very good point about the impact that these cases have on you. Like you said, you worked that case from the beginning, and how many years was it before it got solved?
7 years, just under 7.
Yeah, 7 years that this case was an active case. I mean, we say active. I mean, it wasn't active, but I mean, when you got tips, you worked on it, obviously.
Oop.
My notification.
It's from your wife. She's giving you tips. So obviously the family and everything that was involved, they had to go through the 7 years, and obviously great that there's some closure there. But Fitzy brought up a great point, and something that we have discussed in the past, that the emotional toll that being in law enforcement can take. And we don't want this to be an all lovey-dovey and we love cops. I mean, I think for the most part, all of us pretty much do, or at the very least, we respect law enforcement in our area. But man, that's huge stuff. People go out on calls, and you guys go out on calls, and you see like dead kids, and you see gross things, and you see like the worst of people. And I don't know how that doesn't affect you in your daily life or in your personal life. So, Brent, I know we're kind of getting off on something else here, but I don't know, how do you kind of just check out from that stuff? You can't unsee some of these things.
Well, I think the thing is, we're seeing a lot of focus now on the welfare of law enforcement, because in the past, I think we just tuned it out, and now we actually have resources for the officers. The state has taken an initiative a few years ago too, to see that law enforcement has some resources if they're struggling, because we can see some terrible, horrific things. And a lot of times we get through it because we are kind of like a band of brothers, and we all go through it together. But we have peer support now. We have employee resources for our people. And like I say, we want to always be watching out for that. And a lot of the signs you can tell when somebody is struggling, you start to see the quality of their work go down. You start to see problems in their home life, things like that. So we pay close attention to it. And I think that's been a good shift.
So by the way, it's on our website if you want to read a little bit more about that. I think the headline was, I didn't write it down, but it was the Polk County Deputy, Andrew Vitalis, was selected to receive the prestigious Deputy Sheriff of the Year award from the National Sheriff's Association. So does that come with, I don't know, gift cards or something?
Well, He will get airfare and hotel and flown out to Phoenix, Arizona in June, where he'll receive this award, and it's really a big deal for us.
Yeah, no kidding. Again, like Fitzy was saying, this isn't like, Northwest Wisconsin or Polk County Deputy of the Year. I mean, or even Wisconsin. It's the national. That's just crazy. I mean, I have no idea how many deputies there are, but my goodness gracious, that is outstanding.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, what a great way. This is our third week in a row, Fitzy. I think we've had some really positive things right at the beginning.
Right. I mean, it's somebody put on their gift card.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Here's a $10 gift card. Get out of here.
Yeah. We don't do it for that. We don't do it. And like you said, Brent, Andrew wouldn't say, this is all me. This is a team effort. That's what the fun part about law enforcement is, the team effort that we have and we go through every day. And that's what's special about law enforcement. I mean, I love it. You love it, Brent, still today after years of doing it. And that's what makes law enforcement so unique, is the team. It's no different than the NCAA. I mean, we talked about that team effort to win that championship, and this is a team effort. We just have a championship game every day when we go out there because, I mean, it means life or death. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit, but we had a SWAT call again yesterday afternoon, 3:00 in the afternoon. We have another SWAT call, and we're at 7 for the year already, and it's April, and so it's just something that we have to do. But our team efforts that we have, the teams that we've built, are tremendous, and we're just lucky enough to be in the leadership role, Brent and I, to lead these teams to a championship every day, and it's pretty special for us. And I know Brent feels the same way. Brent and I have done some talks together and worked together on different things, and that's what's special about our jobs. I mean, as sheriff, is to lead these teams and get awards like this, and it's nice to see deputies recognized for stuff.
See, and I want to be a cop someday.
Yeah.
I mean, I really can't for like that. So I decided I'm going to start growing a mustache because I watched Super Troopers the other day, and apparently that's like a prerequisite or something. So I'm going to grow a mustache. It doesn't look good, but that's more of like my face is the problem, not the mustache. So I don't know how long I'll keep it, but hopefully I'll get a job in law enforcement now.
Hopefully. Brent has an opening, I hope.
Go to Polk. Polk County Sheriff Brent Waak is joining us today on Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by ICAA. ICAA is your local social service organization that works together with individuals, families, and the community to create and support local solutions for local needs. For a full list of services, find them on Facebook or check them out on the website at indianheadcaa.org. So I want to, Fitzy, you had brought up a couple weeks ago that you want us to talk about meth, and we did last week. We certainly want to get to that and get some perspectives from you're in Barron County and Walkie-Talkie. No, that's not going to stick. We got to get a different name. And Brent is in Polk, but these arbitrary, county lines, it really doesn't matter. Bad guys don't care about county lines. So how you work together and collaborate. But I did want to touch on something first, and it was a WPR put out a story a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, and it was a Democrat something and then AG Call, which is a lot of people consider Attorney General the quote-unquote top cop in the state, was also a part of this, and they were talking about gun control. And that it seems like we kind of get these conversations or have these discussions when, I don't know, unfortunately, when another shooting happens. So I was just curious, from your perspectives, we have Brent Waak, Polk County, and Fitzy in Barron County. You're both in cops. You both are actually, one's a Democrat, one's a Republican, but I think for the most part, law enforcement is law enforcement. It should be their own political party, right? But I'm just kind of curious if there was these, I think that what they were discussing was universal background checks specifically for gun shows and then the red flag law. If either of those things were actually done, would that actually, what impact would that make on your county? So, Fitzy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't think any. I think the background checks, I don't think it would make any difference. I think everybody is following the laws and has the rules, and a bad guy's not going to follow the laws anyway. So I don't think it'll have any effect on local law enforcement. It might in the future. Sales of guns is all I can think of off the top of my head when it comes to a federal law, but having guns in Northwest Wisconsin is pretty common. We don't see very many firearm violations. Now we have firearm violations when it comes to these calls, these SWAT calls like we have. They have violations, but most of the guns during those violations are legally obtained. They have for hunting. We don't have any huge issues with guns. I actually thought years ago when they passed, conceal and carry in Wisconsin, and being the number one drinking state, that those two wouldn't mix.
Right.
But there's not an issue with conceal and carry. Zero issues with that in Wisconsin, and I really thought we'd have some issues with that. There was some concern of that, but there is none.
Brent, what do you think?
Well, I'm kind of a root cause guy, and I like to know the root cause of some of these violent acts in our country. And I just don't believe the gun is the root cause. It's a symptom. It's a symptom of something bigger, but I don't know that. I'm sitting in a county that last year we passed a resolution declaring ourselves a Second Amendment sanctuary. So we value the Second Amendment here in Polk County very strongly, and I have an evidence room full of guns that were seized from criminals that we oftentimes can't even get prosecution on. And, I've got a machine gun sitting in my evidence actually that we took. And I think that was even a joint case with Barron and Polk here a couple years ago. And the feds would not look at prosecuting that person. And so I just think we have enough laws on the books. We don't effectively sometimes prosecute those laws. And I think we have to focus on some of the underlying issues. And Sheriff, I think you would agree that a lot of our calls involving a firearm oftentimes involve substance abuse and or mental health. And I think those are really some big issues in society we have to find a way to figure out.
And I see someone put a comment that didn't like my comment, obviously, that says gun control won't work because the bad guys like saying murder. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have any gun control. I'm saying we have laws on the books that are already in place that would make an impact. I'm not saying take all the gun laws and throw them out the window. I'm just saying what we have is working for the most part, and it might cure the future, maybe not sell 50 round magazines or whatever the issue is. But again, I agree with Brent. It's the cause of it, not. We don't have many sober people running up and down the streets, committing crimes with a gun. I mean, it just doesn't happen in Northwest Wisconsin. It's all of our cases involve alcohol, drugs, or some sort of or mental health. Or a mixture of all three. I mean, that's the problem, and that's why we work so hard on our drug cases. That's what consumes most of our time is all of our drug cases, because that's what Brent and I are trying to fight for, is to stop the source investigations and everything like that. So,
all right. So analogies always get us in trouble, Fitzy. So, but I'm gonna put this
don't
one
bring
down.
Up fish or dolphins. That's a warning, Brent.
We'll fill you on that later. But analogies help me understand some things, and obviously it's not exact comparison; it's a juxtaposition, right? Apples and oranges, and you're comparing them. Would this be similar to drunk driving and putting laws on vehicles when looking at the root cause is the alcohol of the driver, not vehicle? We should have vehicles that don't go 120 miles an hour. Let's put a law that says that cars can only go 80 miles an hour. And is that really the problem, that cars can go fast, or is it the person was drunk? Would that be a fair analogy, Brent?
I think it's an analogy that, you can kind of grasp a little bit of what we're trying to say. And I think it is a fair analogy. There are a lot of issues surrounding this, and it's a very passionate issue for people. But at the end of the day, right, do we blame the car when somebody harms a family, drunk driving? Do we blame the alcohol, or do we blame the person behind the wheel? And I think we have to look and hold some accountability issues in our society here. And I think we lack that at times. We lack accountability. So I don't know. Having a conversation is a good thing about this. I think that's how we solve some of these problems, is talking about these problems. But at the end of the day, to blame one particular item and to have this, I personally have felt that there's been an all-out attack on people's Second Amendment rights. And I think we have a lot of laws on the books already, and I think we do a really good job of protecting our citizens. But at the end of the day, we need to focus on the root cause.
Mm-hmm. So we have a question here from Carrie. Said, setting aside guns purchased for sport, as police officers, are you concerned about the high capacity firearms in wide circulation? Either of you want to jump on that? No. No. I'll answer. It's not going to be the right answer, but
Well, I'll always answer.
Fitzy always answers.
Am I concerned about it? Yes. Do we see that as an issue in Northwest Wisconsin? No. Could it be an issue tomorrow or this afternoon? Of course it could be. Am I concerned about it? Yeah, but I just don't see, again, it's go back to the cause of it. If we can take care of the causes, it doesn't matter. I mean, alcohol is a huge issue with our number of OWIs that we have. And we concentrate on that effort. And sometimes you beat your head on the wall. It seems like we don't win that battle, if you want to call it that. And it's frustrating. So I get people's frustration with it. But again, we have to go back to investing the money or some of the effort that we put into fighting some of these laws that, the overreach or whatever it is, or however you want to describe it. We've got to reel it back in and hit it from a different direction sometimes, because what you're doing isn't working. And so, we've done a lot of public relations on alcohol. We've done enforcement on alcohol, and you've got to mix the two sometimes, because it can't be all enforcement. It can't be all education.
Right.
You've got to come at it from a different way. So am I concerned? Of course I'm concerned. I don't want to be in a battle, but I also think that our technology has changed. I don't think we can be outgunned. At least I hope we can't be. In law enforcement.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to another topic. The main one we want to talk about is meth and the things that are happening there. But on a wrap up or final note, here's my 2 cents on this. I feel like the people that are looking to, in terms of legislators that are looking to make some changes in gun control, I believe their heart's in the right place. I really don't have an opinion. I mean, if they do it, fine. I don't care. I'm not a gun owner. I really don't care. But I think they're trying to do something. And is it the right thing? I don't know. But I think they see a lot of these shootings. Now, granted, we don't have a lot of those in Northwest Wisconsin, but you look around nationwide, and I think they're just trying to, we've got to figure out something. We need something that we can do to say that we're addressing this. Because if you don't really address that, then what else do you do? And I know you guys have talked about the prevention and mental health. I would like to see a lot more, legislation coming out regarding that as well. But I don't believe they're actually purposely trying to take away your rights. But then again, in a weird way, they're really pushing the line there. So universal background checks, we didn't get it in the red flag laws, but now let's switch gears to the meth. Fitzy, you've talked about it the last 2 weeks. Brent, in Polk County, is meth, I don't know, is it still a thing or pretty much just gone away and solved itself?
It's one of the top problems in Polk County. And, it was a county board priority, substance abuse, not just meth, but substance abuse. But it's shocking how meth has been a constant problem. It hasn't declined. In fact, it's gone up. And, the troubling stat I saw last year was half of our traffic fatalities involve methamphetamine now. And that is a shocking fact. So we've actually spent some time looking at some of the statistics over here. 45% of my jail bookings are for meth charges. And that's a conservative number, because the guy sitting in jail right now for a burglary is likely feeding his meth habit as well. But, if he wasn't booked for meth, we didn't count that. But it's an alarming number for small, and it drains the resources of these small communities. So yeah, it's a large focus of what we do. Like Sheriff Fitzgerald said, we go after it. We hit it every day. I think we had 361 felony meth cases last year. That's almost one a day.
Say that again. How many?
We had 361 felony meth arrests last year. Virtually one a day.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head or a ballpark of like the trend? What was it like the year before that? I mean, is that like just per usual?
It's unfortunately the norm that we find it every day, all the time. We work tirelessly on it.
So do you, and if I don't know how you guys do your stuff, right? As sheriff, do you guys talk? I mean, again, going back to you guys are neighboring counties, and drug dealers don't care about county lines. Do you guys have conversations, the two of you, or kind of more in a bigger group of Northwest Wisconsin sheriffs, and have brainstorming things or discussions? I know, Fitzy, you've talked ad nauseum about the things that you do and the attempts that you're making and the prevention and having these discussions like coming on the show. But do you guys, share information and what's working and what isn't working? Or is it, nah, you get pretty much on your own and we do what we do and you do what you do?
No, we work together. It may not be Brent and I talking, but it might be our drug units talking to each other. It makes more sense for them to talk to each other. But if there's an issue, we'll always work together. But you're right. It's not the county line. Most of our drug cases, come from the St. Croix Casino, which is exactly right on the border. So we both see that because people on meth like blinky lights, and I shouldn't use that analogy because we'll probably get beat up for it. But I mean, it's just what draws people to meth is that stimulation that they need on this disease. And I'm not making light of it. I'm just being real about it. I mean, the casino draws a bigger thing. So with that, half of Turtle Lake being in Polk County and half of it being in Barron County, and I have the casino half and the hotel half, but I mean, the hotel property is the edge of the Polk Barron line. So they work together. We've done, different things together with our departments, high visibility stops or whatever it is. We've worked different things, but no, so our drug units talk a lot more than Brent and I talk, but that's the way it should be.
Mm. And Brent, what have you been doing? I mean, if this is kind of the status quo, how do you fix it?
Well, it's an all hands on deck situation.
And Fitzy, make sure you take notes.
I'm writing it down.
So, we've progressed over the years where we've added canines, we have added drug investigators. We are part of a task force. We work with all our neighbors, but our task force is made up of Pierce, St. Croix, and Polk County. And, we go after it really hard, but at the end of the day, there's the backside of this problem that, law is a bigger picture than what law enforcement can do. And it's a treatment issue. It's a socioeconomic issue. It's a poverty thing. It's really a complex issue. And I think that's why this problem has persisted in our communities is there is not one simple quick fix for it. Treatment for a meth addiction is a 1.5 to 2 year process. That's a long time. It's not a quick 30 days and you're cured. So I don't know. The big picture is we explore a lot of different angles now, and we're talking about it. We're having county board level meetings. We're having criminal justice collaboration council activity. We're just trying a lot of things.
Is meth, from what you see in Polk County or in our area, being made locally more now than it was before? Or is this drug coming in? It's already made and it's coming into Polk County. It's not manufactured or not grown. I don't know, produced or made in Polk County.
No, we don't hardly ever see a lab anymore.
Really?
And I always like to give the legislature props for that. They passed a law 20 years ago that regulated Sudafed, and that essentially did away with the local lab of it. It's a border security issue. The meth we find, we're close to the Twin Cities, so our drug addicts run to the cities, get their meth, and it's a border security issue ultimately at the end of the day. And I've had meetings with Arizona sheriffs. They've come up and talked about how their meth problem is our meth problem, and they find we think it's a big deal when we find a pound of meth or a couple pounds of meth. These Arizona sheriffs, they find 30 to 50 pound meth busts. It's a big deal. So that ultimately makes it to our back door, and that's a concern.
Fitzy, do you see that stuff in Barron County?
100%. All of our meth comes from Minnesota. 100% of our meth is from Minnesota. That's just how the chain, as Brent said, from Arizona through Colorado into Minnesota, and we drive over and get it every day of the week. There's people driving through Polk and St. Croix counties to get to Barron County, and so that's how it happens. And that's the whole. If we could build the wall against Minnesota, we would stop the meth problem tomorrow. I mean, they'd have to go through Iowa and around, but it'd take longer to get here. But it's 100%. Brent's right. We don't make it. once in a while someone tries to, they think they can do it, but they can't. They can't make it. The quality, the price of meth is dropping. We're seeing it'll drop a little bit. Why, I couldn't tell you that, but maybe the supply and demand is so good that they can drop the price. I don't know, but everything is meth. We've seen a little heroin. Brent, have you seen much heroin in Polk? I mean, rarely are we seen heroin.
And that's a good point about the heroin. We don't see as much of it up here. It's a very isolated incident of it. And the last couple of years, the focus has been with funding and drug grants is been on heroin, and largely, meth has been ignored, and it's never went away up in this. It's a regional issue. I don't like to say it's just a Polk County issue because it's a Northwest Wisconsin regional issue. And like I say, we hit it hard. We try to hit it hard, but at the end of the day, we have this appetite in our society for it, and that's unfortunate.
We have a question, and I'm sorry, we have a whole bunch here, and I just noticed they're a little longer, so I'll try to go back and look at them. But here's a quick question: when they get arrested, booked, why do a lot get released? Obviously, you guys aren't district attorneys, but do you find that being the situation? And if so, what would you attribute that to?
I think the system's overwhelmed. The system's overwhelmed. I mean, our judicial system, if you look at a calendar of a judge, those judges work very hard. And you look at all the work our law enforcement agency does, that all flows to one office, the district attorney's office. So I think that's a good conversation that the DAs should come on this program with you and talk about their caseload and the funding and the fact that, it's a staffing issue. Finding an ADA right now is a difficult process. There's not the level of interest in those positions, and yeah, the system is overwhelmed.
And it goes back to public defenders and having public defenders that don't want to work for the dollar figure, and so there's a big public defender which delays the process of our district attorney's office, which delays our court. So it's really a system issue, as Brent said. It frustrates us that people get out on bond. I think our bond needs to get reworked. Not that I want to fill up my jail or Brent's jail, but I also am not crazy about the bond situation. I mean, people get out on their own recognizance after committing multiple felonies. I like cash bonds. We should take some of that money from our cash bonds. We don't do any of that in Barron County. There's a lot of, again, that just bogs down and I understand why. It's not no one wants to do it. It just bogs down the court system, and you have to pick your battle. And as Brent said, you just got to decide, am I going to charge this? Or am I going to go after this? Or am I going to do after this? So our district attorneys have to make those choices, and sometimes it frustrates us. We have a good working relationship with our DAs here in Barron, and so we work together. But frustration happens. I mean, people I'm sure are frustrated with law enforcement because we're not fixing the problem or whatever the answer is. So so I understand it. And back to Brent's point, Romaine, who watches the show, is probably watching. He's done a lot of work with us in Madison to get some of those grants away from heroin to meth or to drug use. And so we made a big push with Romaine and worked up very hard on that. And a feather in one of many Romaine's feathers in his hat is helping us do that, because he got us some grant money to do that, because it all went to heroin. Because if Madison and Milwaukee have a problem, all the grant money goes to whatever that issue is. We just didn't have heroin money. They could give us heroin money. We couldn't spend it. And so it was frustrating, and we've made some good strides that way, and we'll continue to make those strides.
Brent, let me ask you this, I don't know, hypothetical. I don't even call this question. 1 year from now, so you just said you had 300 and, I wrote down somewhere, 300 and some meth-related cases last year. If you wanted to get that down starting today, in 1 year from today, you want that down 50%. No, we'll say 25%. You want that reduced 25%. What do you need to get that done?
Boy, that's a tough question. I could get that number down to 0 if we stopped going after it, and that's the interesting part of law.
Well, there you go.
We have a high number. We always shock people with our meth numbers here, but really that's a testament to how hard the staff is out working. And, you generate a lot of numbers because we hit it every night. We hit it every day. So I think it is a big picture item, and this is really starting to sound like a politically polished answer, but we can't fix this problem with one entity. It's all hands on deck. It's a community issue. We need all citizens to come up with some innovation and get some new thought process. But at the end of the day, we're doing law enforcement. That's our job. We go out there and we hit it, and we're going to always do that. So I hope that number is a high number, because that shows we're out working.
Mm.
But I'll add to that, in the fact that Brent's right. I mean, we could reduce it. There's 800 jobs, open jobs. We heard from our job center the other day, 800 open jobs in Barron County, but it becomes down to transportation issues, and it comes down to housing issues. And so if we get more housing and better transportation, we can get people to their jobs and keep them off meth. I mean, so if we can get those jobs filled, and people don't sleep on their neighbor's couch that sells them meth, they don't have to go to their dealer's house because we can find them housing. There's zero housing in Barron County. There's 800 open jobs. There's a poor transportation system. So those are things that and they said, why is the sheriff on this committee, or why is the sheriff on that committee? Well, it's because housing, jobs, and transportation are three big issues that can help us with the meth problem. So if we could get those three issues solved, then Brent's a rural county like our county, and people just can't, there's jobs in Amory or in Barron or wherever, but people don't live right in the city of Amory or right in this village, a village or city here in our county. So it becomes a transportation issue, and that's why we're so involved in other things, because it's a system issue, as Brent said.
And actually that gave me an idea, Fitzy, talking about meth, instead of just, us just talking about meth in just terms of, all right, so what are you doing, and what are the numbers? Maybe we should just start lining up some of those guests. We should kind of break down a lot of these different areas that contribute to the meth issue, and then start having a few of those people, like someone from housing, or I don't know, you're the representative down there who replaced Romaine, Dave Armstrong. Is he still the
economic development person too, part-time for Barron County? So he's the guy that told me about the jobs, that there's 800 jobs, but there's some new businesses coming into the area. So we're growing, we're adding houses, but there's just not at the rate that we need them. It's not possible. But yeah, Dave would be a great resource for not only what's going on in Madison, but about the housing development. He did a huge study before he was elected, took over from Romaine on housing in Barron County, and it's real similar. Our counties are almost the exact same size, Polk and Barron. So I would assume, Brent, you have the same housing, transportation issues that we have.
Yes. I think another key piece to this too, Ben, is that COVID was a setback for outreach, and the fact that, people haven't been able to get together and discuss these issues. And in the same with, I think there's an educational piece. We see generational problems with meth that, I've been in law enforcement now enough. I'm dealing with offspring of people that we arrested for meth 20 years ago. And so I think there is that educational piece that's also a big part of this puzzle. And, DARE was kind of statistically, I don't think a successful program, but I think there is an opportunity that we're missing here. If we can get to the younger people and get that educational piece, that's important.
Well, I think your wife wants you, I don't know, pick up milk on the way home or something. Check your messages.
We're just important people, Ben. You're not the only thing going on in our lives. I know you think that, Ben, but
I do actually.
But Mary put a good point on here about people won't hire people with records, and that's what we've had a lot of meth forums, and Brent's right, we haven't been able to get out there and do a lot of our prevention work, but we've met with a lot of employers and say, you know what, sometimes just because someone's got a meth conviction on their record doesn't mean they're not a good employee. If we can get them the right job, they'll stay off of it, and so and these businesses have taken some chances on it. So we've convinced some of our local businesses to do that, some of our local renters to rent to people with a meth conviction. The problem is they have plenty of people to pick from. So if I don't have a record and this person has a record and I can rent to one of them, which one am I picking? Well, I'm going to pick the person that's always made the good choice. And that sucks, but that's just the reality of where we're at, and the choice is out there. And that's why if you didn't have so many people to pick from for your one rental, you get 4 or 5 people want one rental, you get to pick the best of the best. And so it sucks for the person that's down the line. And so we need some people to take some chances on people, and we've convinced a lot of people to do that. So it's working. It's just a slow process.
We'll get that. We would definitely if they wanted to like intern, like no pay, like we're driving by, that's fine.
Well.
It's just we can't pay them, so you can sleep here in the studio in the office or something. That's fine. Quickly before we're already way past our normal time, which is usual for our show. But Fitzy, you brought up SWAT team something last night. Is there anything that you can say about that?
We had a SWAT call yesterday afternoon. We had blocked off a couple roads, major roads, where people were driving home from school. There was some reports that there was a kid involved. There was not a kid involved, but it ended up being somewhat of a hostage situation. Everybody came out okay, but it just shows you that at 3:00 on a Monday afternoon, I mean, stuff can happen in law enforcement, and we had to, flip our trigger from, going out and doing some routine patrol and just driving around doing some speed enforcement to having a SWAT call and a major incident, and some rounds were fired off, and the district attorney is going to get some cases, the case today, and maybe see some charges. But it just how it happens. I asked Brent if his SWAT team had been out a lot, and he said no, they've been out a couple times, and it just hit or miss. And we talked about that when we did our stats back in January, that last year we weren't called out very much, and now we're at number 7 for the year already in Barron County. And so times are changing, and it has nothing to do with gun control, but it has to do, again, to Brent's point about root causes. So, but I think you make a good point about having some other people on the show that can talk about some of the other effects of meth that are non-law enforcement related that we need to have in there. So
yeah. And I just want to apologize to, I know Ben had just asked a question, no question on cannabis then. I would have loved to, that's my favorite topic in the world, by the way. But we just didn't get enough time. This was great. Brent, we should definitely have you back on again if you would like to come back. Again, I apologize. We couldn't get to everyone's questions or comments. We'll try to do better next time. Brent, thanks so much for being here. Any final words, any messages that you would like to share with Polk County or with our viewers?
Well, Sunday starts the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. That's where we honor the dispatchers that work in law enforcement. So Sunday we start that celebration. And again, it goes down to the team effort. It takes everybody to make this show work. And our dispatchers are a vital part to that. So it'll be a good week next week to honor the work they do.
Fitzy?
Yeah, I would agree. Make sure you go vote today. Go make a difference. And we didn't even get to add about any voting, but go vote today. Make a difference. We got a lot of local elections today. Is local versus our national and our state elections. They're all pretty much local. So go make a difference. Go be positive. And like we said, little things you do can make a big difference. So go make a difference today.
So I don't know anything about either state superintendent that they're running. Don't know anything. I think one last name is Kerr, and I don't know the other one, and I don't know which is Republican or Democrat, or I have no idea. So which one's going to win?
I have no idea on that.
I haven't been following it either. I feel like I should, but I have no idea about either of them.
Who gets the most votes wins.
Well, okay. You're like my great uncle. I'd go in, he's watching the baseball game. I'd say, "Who are you rooting for?" He goes, "I don't know. Who's winning?" And wow. Great answer. All right, thank you guys. Thank you so very much for being on here. Special thank you to our guest today, Polk County Sheriff Brent Waak, for joining us for a chat. And, of course, thank all of you for watching. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dredden, and you've been watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by ICAA. ICAA is your local social service organization that works together with individuals, families, and the community to create and support local solutions for local needs. For a full list of services, find them on Facebook or check them out on their website at IndianHeadCAA.org. Fitzy and I will see you back here in 2 weeks from today, as next week is our regular third Tuesday of the month. Yeah, third Tuesday of the month. We always take... No?
Next week's only the second Tuesday of the month. It's only the 6th today, so we're off the 20th.
Well, that's a problem, because... Hold on, I got to think about that. No, it's not a problem. Because we always do Diane's Kitchen. And she has, by the way, her guest is going to be phenomenal. It's about this dude with I think it's either in Polk or Burnett County, created this card game. And like you can this whole new game. And it's a local person. Mom always picks the greatest guests. But no, I think we're recording it this Friday. But I don't think it's aired until okay, no, we are safe. We will be back here next Tuesday. And I'll have a better script. I'll look at my calendar before I write this stuff
Sorry,
out.
Brent. It's like this every week.
Okay, so until next Tuesday, stay safe, stay positive, and as always, have a blessed day.